needed to see what this man looked like naked, and let me tell you, he did not disappoint. But there were a few things that started to confuse me. I would be like, why does your client need you to come in and work for so long?
Yeah, why does your client need you to come?
Welcome back to Delve Deck Stories. Today we are reading some crazy breakup stories. Our first story is from Anonymous, and it is, what's the bravest thing you've ever done, from our Joy Deck. I left my ex at the altar.
Ooh.
Spicy.
Has anyone ever been left at the altar?
Here?
Yes. No.
I grew up in a really conservative Christian family and was raised to expect to get married and have kids. I was so caught up in the culture I grew up in that I didn't really think about whether it's what I even wanted. I did not date in high school or college. I went to nursing school and was expected to find a Christian doctor to marry and have kids with. I seemed to be getting nowhere with finding love in school or on the job, so I finally joined a Christian dating website and started meeting people that way. I went on a bunch of first dates but didn't feel much of a connection with anyone I met. Finally, I met Nathan after about a year of online dating, and we hit it off a bit more. I am not sure I was ever all that in love with him, but he sure sounded good on paper. He was a doctor and wanted kids. He also shared a lot of my hobbies, including gardening and tennis. That's all you need.
I was going to say, doctor, kids, gardens, tennis.
This is waspy.
I was just going to say,
hell.
this sounds pretty waspy.
We'd get together to play tennis or work.
Get that bingo card. Boom.
We'd get together to play tennis or work on our gardens at my house or his. Nathan was almost 10 years older than me and already had his life pretty established. He had a house and a career, and a wife was his missing puzzle piece for his picture-perfect life. My parents were thrilled that I was finally courting someone, and once they met Nathan, it felt like they were in a relationship with him even more than I was.
Ooh, kinky.
Is this one of those like, oh man, you're like the kid I never had? And she's like, I'm standing right here.
They'd call him to make plans with us. They'd talk to him as if he was a proxy for me. They'd give him messages to give me. I started to feel like it was Nathan and my parents on one side and me on the other. There were some other things about my relationship with Nathan that gave me pause. It was subtle stuff at first, but his controlling nature became more apparent the longer we dated. At first, he'd say things like, "Oh, I love when you wear that blue dress. Could you wear that to dinner tonight?" But over time, he started getting more demanding with everything. He wanted to tell me what I could plant in my garden.
Is that a euphemism?
He wanted to tell me what food to order at restaurants. He wanted to tell me what to wear, which friends of mine he did or didn't want me spending time with, etc. No.
Gotta go.
Get rid of him. I started feeling like an extra in my own life, but every time I tried to talk to my family about it, they'd brush it off and say I was so lucky to have him and he only wanted what's best for me. Get rid of them all.
Burn them.
Yeah.
Burn them all.
I had a few friends from work who did not like Nathan, and they were the only ones validating my concerns about our relationship. But anytime they started to talk some sense into me, I'd have Nathan and my family gaslighting me and telling me I was just being ungrateful. Nathan proposed to me at my family's Christmas party about 6 months after we started dating.
6 months?
What?
Also, of course he proposes at the Christmas party.
This dude is being so awful.
Yeah.
And it's only 6 months? He didn't so much propose to me as he asked my dad for my hand in marriage. Ugh, God. My dad accepted, and no one really even asked me.
Did they get married? Did the dad and the boyfriend get married?
I tried to maintain a pleasant demeanor for the rest of the night, but when we left, we got into an argument in the car on the way home because I told him I felt like I'd not even been asked if I wanted to get married. Yeah, that's good reason.
Your father
Yeah.
did.
He acted like I was insane, saying we talked about how we both wanted to get married and then made a comment about how I'm not getting any younger, so I should be excited to get married so we can start a family. I called my parents crying once I got home, saying I wasn't sure I wanted to marry him and that we'd had a big fight in the car on the way home. My parents took his side and told me I was blowing my chance to have a happy life and that I should stop giving him a hard time. I hate everyone in
It's
this
literally-
story.
I feel like she can't talk to any one of her family.
Well, she
her
called
family's
the wrong people.
Yeah.
Like, you
Call
know
your
what they're going to
friends.
say. I would say coworkers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the coworker friends. Those are the only people that you should talk to.
the
ever
OGs, the
again.
real ones.
The wedding plans went forward, but the closer the wedding date got, the more depressed I felt. I was fighting with Nathan more often and dreading my future instead of looking forward to it. The week before the wedding, I got an Instagram message request from a private account.
Give me a way out. Give me a way out.
I opened the message and it read, "Hi, I know we don't know each other, but I think you're Nathan last name's girlfriend. I'm really sorry to bother you, but he is my ex and I think you should know what happened between me and him because I heard you're about to marry him."
Ooh.
Women looking out for women. I felt a sick, sinking feeling. Nathan told me he'd never been in a serious relationship, which seemed odd to me for a man in his early 30s. I started trading messages with his ex and found out they dated for 2 years. She told me she'd gotten pregnant when they were together, and he wanted her to abort because it was a bad look for him to have a baby outside of wedlock, and he didn't want anyone to know he'd been having sex. Oh my God.
What a
fucking
godly
pussy.
man. What a
Jesus.
godly
Yeah.
man.
She ended up miscarrying and said she doesn't know if it was from all the stress or if he did something to cause it.
Oh, what?
I wouldn't put it past. I wouldn't
I
put it past.
know. None of this lined up with anything I knew about him. Nathan told me he was a virgin and had never been in a serious relationship. The ex had pics from them from their time together. I couldn't be certain her whole story was true, but some of it had to be because she knew way too much about him to be a random stranger. She also described his behavior perfectly. He started off sweet and gradually got more and more controlling, just like he had with me. Oh my God, there's so many red
You
flags.
say that'd be convincing, except that's like most men when they're shitty. They start out really sweet.
She'd be like, "Oh, look at the one mole that's on his right butt cheek." You know?
Yeah.
Whether she was telling the whole truth or not, I now felt sure I couldn't marry him. At best, he lied about his romantic past, and at worst, he was dangerous. I also felt more sure than ever that I wasn't in love with him and never would be. I tried to meet up with Nathan to break it off. I was worried he'd lose his temper, so I asked him to meet me for lunch at a restaurant. I told him I felt like we'd moved too quickly and I didn't want to get married. He lost his temper anyway and called me a bitch and told me I was ruining his life and too immature to make decisions for myself. I left. My parents were calling me before I even got home. My dad left me a voicemail telling me he'd heard I'd started a fight with Nathan and that I better patch things up before the wedding. I felt so trapped. I was not going to patch things up. I wanted to run away. I think you should.
Fake
I
your own
wonder who tattled like a little whiny bitch.
death. It starts with an N and it ends with an Athan. I don't.
I sent my parents an email and told them I didn't love Nathan and that I was not marrying him and it wasn't up for debate. I told them not to call me or reach out and that I'd be in touch when I was ready to talk. I told them to cancel the wedding. I was finally actually mad at everyone and didn't want to talk to any of them. The realization of how much pressure everyone was putting on me was setting in. No one had expressed any real interest in what I wanted. I am so happy you're having this realization before you got married. I was already on vacation from work since it was supposed to be my wedding week, but I decided I needed to quit my job and get away from everyone for a while. I told them I wasn't coming back and signed up with a travel nurse agency. I told my friends I'd called it off. The ones who never liked Nathan were thrilled to hear it. My email, voicemail, and text messages were flooded with angry messages from my parents and Nathan, demanding to know where I was and telling me I better be at church for the wedding or they'd never speak to me again.
Aww,
All right.
shucks.
See ya. It's time for her to go on her Eat, Pray, Love journey.
She's like, that's all it would take for them to leave me alone?
Yeah.
She's not showing up.
I packed up my things and went to stay at a hotel until my new job started. I was worried Nathan or my parents would show up at my house to try to drag me to the wedding. I felt like I was escaping a cult, and I guess I kind of was. I discovered that I really like traveling nursing, and I've been doing it since I left Nathan. I also think I am asexual and haven't tried to date since then, and feel very at peace with it. My parents still haven't forgiven me, but I haven't really forgiven them either, so I guess it's fine. My life is so much better since I left Nathan and left the church too. Mm-hmm. We're happy for you.
I love happy endings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the fact that your family, and your dad especially, was like, this is my son, Nathan, he's a good guy. He's a terrible person. The fact that they would take his side over their own daughters, that's a huge red flag.
Our next story is from Stacy. It's What's Your Not My Proudest Moment story from the venting deck. I orchestrated a breakup between my crush and her boyfriend. All right,
Nice.
Stacy. This is the most unhinged thing I've ever done, and I am fairly disgusted with myself looking back. But I was young and dumb and completely smitten with a girl I probably knew deep down wasn't going to be with me. I became friends with Ariel my junior year of college. She was a transfer at my university and lived on the same floor as me at the dorm. She didn't know anyone at school, so I started inviting her to do stuff with me and my friends. I developed a huge crush on her, and for a while I thought maybe there could be something there. We got along so well and hung out a lot. We both told each other we are bisexual, but in hindsight, we were both lying. I am gay, and she is straight.
Oh, no.
We had one drunken night of making out, and I thought something would happen from there. But a few weeks later, she started dating this total bro, Kyle, who she wanted to invite along to everything. Trivia night, he was invited. Karaoke party, he was tagging along. He was always around. I couldn't invite Ariel out for a coffee break without him third wheeling it. I hated Kyle. He was a backwards baseball cap wearing, Joe Rogan listening, Republican voting nightmare person, and seeing him with Ariel was driving me crazy. I can't believe you still liked her. She got bad taste.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with a scheme to break them up. I knew Kyle was a tool and it would be easy to break them up with another girl. So I made a fake Instagram profile and started following Kyle and engaging with all his posts.
Men are so easy.
It didn't take long to get him to start following back and DMing with me. I started flirting with him and sending him nude pics I found online that were not me. I got him saying he was sort of dating someone, but it wasn't serious, and got him agreeing to meet up with my fake profile to hook up. Wow, Kyle. Next, I told Ariel some girl in my economics class said she'd been DMing with Kyle and that he'd told her his relationship wasn't serious. Ariel was skeptical, so the next day I pretended I got my classmate to give me screenshots of her DMs with Kyle.
We've all been there.
Yeah, I feel like this is like a weird roundabout way to do this. I would just use that Instagram account, message her, and be like, hey.
I hear you're looking for me.
Ariel confronted Kyle about the DMs, and they got in a huge fight and broke up. At first, I was like, yes, victory. Now I can have her. But obviously, I was delusional. I spent the next few months consoling her about the breakup and being like, yeah, men suck. They all cheat. We should be together. You gotta try.
I mean, shoot your shot, girl.
You gotta try.
Might as well get them when they're emotionally vulnerable. Oh, I just want a shoulder to lean on,
Be
which
like,
happens to
"What
be right next to my
about
chin and my lips. And oh my God, what's this? We're making out?
But this went nowhere, and before the end of the school year, she started dating another guy who wasn't nearly as reprehensible as Kyle. In fact, the new boyfriend was likable, and I couldn't bring myself to mess with him, especially after my antics with Kyle hadn't gotten me any closer to being with Ariel anyway. You broke them up.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, maybe bad, but also he sucked.
You didn't deserve joy.
Also,
Yeah.
if you did it once, you could do it a second time. You know?
He's like, she'll kiss you eventually.
She'll eventually get the idea that all men are not good.
Just got a Pavlov or a little
Yeah.
And that's usually how sexuality works.
Yep, exactly.
My friends who were actually gay were also trying to actively intervene on me and trying to convince me to stop being in love with a straight girl. The summer apart was a good reset for me, and I came to my senses about the whole thing before senior year started and vowed to stop pursuing straight girls after that. I feel like this is like a classic lesbian, bisexual experience, or like, I don't know, I feel like women... We get obsessed with each other. You gotta have that experience. You just gotta. Our next story is from Julia. It's, who is the worst person you've ever dated, from our venting deck? My boyfriend dumped me at my birthday party.
Excellent timing.
Wow. I want to
already
know
a fan.
what age? Teenager? Adult?
50.
Ugh.
When I was 23,
Okay.
Oh, definitely brain altering.
Yeah.
I started dating this guy, Eric. At first, things were great, but after about 6 months together, I felt like he was starting to pull away. 6 months is really, that's that sweet spot.
Well,
we're
he said
finding
3
out.
months is when
3
guys...
months is when they can't fake it anymore. It's 6 months to around 9 months is when, like, you decide, oh, I like this person, but can this work? And then a year is when you're like, do I love you?
Yeah, you're like, are we in this for the long haul, or
Yeah,
are we
like,
just
what's
kind of...
the deal?
Yeah,
Are we
yeah.
over
Are we
it?
just, like, trying domesticity? What's it like?
Yeah. Today, I wouldn't waste my time with that kind of behavior, but when I was young and desperate for love, it made me cling even harder. He wouldn't text me back, and I would cry myself to sleep, blowing up his phone with voicemails and texts. Then the next day, he would say something like, my phone died, and I wanted to believe him, so I would. People's phones don't die.
We are all sprinting to a charger or an outlet to be like, no, you know?
Yeah.
And even then, it's only like 2 minutes.
Then the week of my birthday came. I am definitely one of those birthday people, so I'd been making a big deal about it for a month. My roommates and I had planned to throw a party, and I made invitations that I sent out to all of my friends and Eric. He never responded to my text with the invite in it, but we did text a few days later, so I assumed he had seen it and just didn't say anything.
I'm sorry. Is it normal in, like, relationships if, like, your partner doesn't acknowledge something you said for people to just assume they saw it? Because I'll, like, poke until I'm like, no, I need to know you heard me. I need to know that we're on the same page with this.
Then we made plans to hang out the day before my actual birthday. We ended up smoking weed and watching movies at his house, our usual routine. The next morning, I was trying to play it cool, thinking that maybe he had planned something for me. He didn't say anything to me after waking up and instead initiated morning sex. I was like, hell yeah, birthday sex. But no, he didn't bother making sure I had a good time and rolled off me after about 5 minutes to go shower. He's just like, I'm just gonna like hit the showers, bye.
Make me a sandwich before I go. Bad
It's like,
dude.
could
Bad,
you
bad.
make me some coffee while I'm in the shower too?
Yeah.
On my
Like,
birthday? Yeah, I can do that for you. You want some eggs, too?
When he was done showering, I asked if he wanted to get breakfast. He told me he already had plans with friends. That's when I started thinking he may not even know it's my birthday. Do you have anything you want to say to me? I asked him. He seemed annoyed by this and asked what I meant. So I asked if he knew what day it was. He just stared at me blankly before saying no. I was furious and started yelling at him that I couldn't believe he forgot my birthday. Instead of being apologetic, he got mad at me and said he can't be expected to remember things like that.
Gasp, shut up. No more rights for that, man. No more rights. Take his tongue.
Is
Bruh, it's one day.
Texted you days ago, dummy.
We ended up getting into a huge fight, and I threatened to leave him right then and there. This made him really upset, and he switched into apology mode, telling me that he would make it up to me and that I didn't need to do anything drastic. I told him how awful and distant he had been, and he started begging for forgiveness, and then told me he loved me and was just scared of his feelings for me.
Are we 10?
I should have trusted my gut and left, but I fell for his lies once again. No, don't do that.
I saw a video and it was like, how do I know if he's lying to me? And this girl goes, well, that would make sense because you said he. So
The next day was my birthday party. I was busy setting up decorations and getting drinks ready with my roommates, so I didn't actually talk to Eric much, but he had promised that he was going to come to the party. Since he had told me he loved me, I figured things were great and I couldn't wait to see him.
Just want to put this out there. Going to your girlfriend, partner, whoever's birthday party, not a big ask.
non-negotiable.
That night, people started showing up around 9 p.m. We were all drinking, dancing, and playing beer pong. 10 p.m. rolled around, and Eric still wasn't there, so I texted asking when he was planning on coming. No response. Then 11 p.m. came and went. Still no response from Eric. Finally, just before midnight, he shows up. I was mad, but still wanted to have a good night, so I ran to the door and tried to greet him with a kiss and told him how much I loved him. He seemed annoyed by this and was like, "You smell like beer." I was like, yeah, it's my birthday party. Then he goes, "I really need to talk to you outside." I was like, "What do you mean? Don't you want to come in and take a birthday shot with me?" Trying to be flirty and fun. This seemed to annoy him even more, and he was like, "We really need to talk." I had a bad feeling about what was about to happen, but I followed him outside anyway. This guy is so, like, hot and cold.
I'm also like, is he just socially inept? Like, he doesn't...
I think he's a narcissist.
I
Yeah.
think he just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, all true.
Yeah. He didn't say anything at first, so finally I was like, "What do you need to talk to me about?" Then he dropped the bomb. "I think we should break up." I was in shock. I asked why, and he said some bull about how he felt like we were growing apart. I was like, "Are you seriously breaking up with me at my birthday party after you forgot my birthday and told me you love me?" He then started crying and telling me that he had too much trauma from his parents' divorce and that he couldn't handle being in a relationship.
And to that I say,
Good.
like...
Good. Don't date. Don't
Yeah.
procreate. Just
We
stay in
all-
your cave and don't come out. Don't bother anyone.
Yeah.
Don't waste anyone's time. This is the age-old excuse, and I literally can't, because men, we can't have any emotional reactions. We can't be overwhelmed. We can't be upset. We can't be angry. But we can't expect a man to have, like, commitment. Oh! It makes me literally want to, like, force choke so many people.
And yes, we all have trauma. We all have parents.
It
You
doesn't
know?
mean that you get to treat people terribly.
Yeah.
You're not special.
I was like, "My parents are also divorced. You're just an asshole." We didn't talk for much longer because I started screaming at him that I never wanted to see him again, and he finally left. I ended up going back into the party with tears and makeup streaming down my face. I started slamming shots of whatever alcohol was in my path until I blacked out and woke up the next morning tucked into bed with a trash can next to me.
I was going to say, baby, mama's going to take care of you.
Your roommates, everyone's just like, "It's okay,
There you
girl."
go.
Yeah.
Here's
That guy.
Here's another.
We already slashed his tires.
Yeah.
We put sugar in the gasoline tank.
Sugar in the tank?
Shit.
Is this a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ruin cars that way.
Yes.
I've never ruined a car other than by my own stupidity.
And if you're slashing someone's tires, only do 3, because if it's 4, insurance will cover it.
Oh.
Just so you know.
My roommates told me I basically spent the rest of the night talking about how much I hated Eric and trying to hook up with every guy at the party as revenge.
Oh, no, they shouldn't have told her that. Like, birthday present, not anxiety.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, all
horrible.
right. Apparently, I even told one guy I would let him film it if we could send it to my ex. That's kind of funny.
Crazy.
I mean,
Kind of funny.
Icon living.
I kind of love it.
devious.
Do it. Luckily, my friends had my back and managed to get me some food and water and tucked me into bed. Unfortunately, I tried contacting Eric a few more times after that, but I think he blocked my number.
That's so messed up. I'm sorry. If you're the dumper, you don't get to block the number.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it for at least a week. At least a week of dealing with the consequences of your actions.
Yeah.
At least.
Looking back, I can't believe I let that loser ruin my birthday.
It was only your 23rd. Everyone gets 23.
Our next story is from Kira. It's what's the wildest plot twist you've ever experienced in real life from the All Swim Beach Ball? I was the other woman and didn't know.
It's better than knowing.
In college, I dated this guy who was my romantic counterpart in the fall musical. Naturally, as many foolish theater kids do, we developed a bond outside of our characters.
That's method acting, baby. I mean, if you're going to sell it on stage, come on.
What's a show without a showman?
Exactly.
I didn't know him incredibly well, but I knew he'd had a girlfriend in the past year, but that was seemingly over now. We were playing the classic situationship game of What Are We? And I asked him about his ex-girlfriend a few months into us seeing each other. He tells me she's crazy, toxic, controlling, all lovely things women love to be called. If they're saying that about their ex...
They're the problem.
Yeah,
Don't ever believe a man. Like, says, if he's literally like, my ex was crazy, she's toxic, don't believe that. But third, if he's like, I hate her, I want nothing to do with her, don't believe that either.
Unless, of course, the other person did do something.
Unless, of course, they are crazy.
Unless they're clinically psychotic.
Something.
But I do agree. Like, if you're gonna make a claim, like, you got to have backup material. Like, you got to have examples.
Like she put an Apple tag in my car.
Exactly.
But still, I made sure that he doesn't have any lingering secret feelings, and he's not using me for a rebound. He assures me that he's not, that he really has feelings for me, and he would never do what past exes had. Cheating. We'd been dating for a few months, and over Christmas break, he goes home, and his communication is really lacking. He only calls me really late at night or responds to my texts a few times during the day. The whole time, he's telling me he's just really busy with friends and nothing is wrong. Texting isn't that hard. We get back to school, and everyone sees us holding hands, hanging out. They definitely know we're together, even if we aren't official. He starts to act differently one day and is barely responding or wanting to see me. So, like a stupid dum-dum, I don't read the room and keep holding on, assuming that he would be a man and have the tough conversation with me. One night, after an improv performance where he was particularly cold to me, I go back to my apartment and received a screenshot text from my friend. It was a photo of my kind of boyfriend and his ex-girlfriend from prom years ago that she had posted that night with TBT and a heart.
For the olders, that means Throwback Thursday.
Yeah, no, I got that.
Throwback Thursday started on Facebook.
We had the Throwback Thursday. We had the Follow Back Friday.
I had one chance to make an age joke. I had one chance to make an age joke.
Invented Throwback Thursday.
I pay respects. I pay my respects.
Pay respects to the millennials.
No, this is the Narnia.
We
Don't
invented
cite the ancient
all.
text to me, which I was there when they were written.
I told my friend to double check what's going on because I definitely wouldn't post that for an ex. She responded to my friend that she and my kind of boyfriend had been together since September, and I tell her to respond that we had been seeing each other since October. She gives this girl my number, and immediately we're on the phone comparing timelines and dates. I find out the entire time he was ignoring my calls over winter break, he was with her.
They talked to each other over the phone and went over the timelines and weren't immediately like, oh my God, I want to fucking fight you. Like there was a commonality that they came together and they were like, we now have a common enemy.
Women today definitely do that.
Yeah.
Oh, heavy. Like, I've been seeing TikToks of girls that are like, if your name is Chelsea and you're dating Chase and he went to Nashville, Tennessee at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, you need to know that he hates you. And it's like, we have each other's backs.
He drives an hour in the middle of the night to grovel at her feet, and the next morning tries to come back to me saying he's sorry and he didn't want to be like his father. Oh my God, calm down.
Another one of these, oh, I got parent trauma. Shut the up. The whole point is to break that, whatever that trauma, you're supposed to break that trauma and be a better person. Don't blame it on someone before you. Go get therapy. Don't date anyone if you're not ready.
Go to therapy.
Don't put that on other people.
Go to therapy. Don't be 23.
Yeah.
And go to therapy.
Yeah.
I told him I couldn't care less for an excuse, kicked him out of my apartment, and then got everyone in my classes to ignore him for the remainder of the year. He got ugly and he's still single. Revenge.
Nice.
That's what we like to hear. Our final story is from Gabby, and it's what's the wildest plot twist you've experienced in real life from the Allswin Beach Ball? I found out my ex-boyfriend was a porn star.
What?
Huh? I met Andrew when I was out at a bar with my friends. We were all hot, single, in our early 20s. Dumb, as we've all determined.
Just young and thriving.
Obviously looking to hook up. I saw Andrew across the room and was instantly drawn to him. He was tall, fit, and absolutely gorgeous. His jawline was insane, and his hair belonged in a shampoo commercial. I could go on about his looks forever. I pointed him out to my friends, and they told me I should go talk to him. I've never been afraid to make the first move, so that's exactly what I did. I introduced myself, and the friends he was with scattered, giving him the space to chat with me. He was even more beautiful close up, and after a few drinks, I asked if he wanted to go back to my place. He agreed. When we got there, we wasted no time getting to my room. I needed to see what this man looked like naked, and let me tell you, he did not disappoint. I couldn't believe how hot he was. I was like, what, are you a model or something? He laughed at that and said, no, I'm a graphic designer.
A lie.
But the biggest surprise was yet to come, and I do mean biggest surprise, if you catch my drift.
I don't get it.
She's talking about his feet?
Oh, yes, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
And so he's like, I was like, holy God almighty, is that even going to fit? Only one way to find out. He was easily the most...
Shoes?
Yeah, and I think it's shoes.
Yeah.
She's like, that foot is so big.
And I try mine on. He was easily the most impressive dude I'd ever been with and was very interested in my comfort and pleasure. He ended up spending the night, and the next morning we walked to a coffee shop near my apartment. He asked for my number, and we started dating. Andrew and I had a lot of fun together, but there were a few things that started to confuse me. First, he didn't seem to actually work. One time, I asked him where he worked, and he said that he was a consultant. I also asked to see some of the stuff he had designed, and all he showed me was a not very good logo for a shoe company. Then he would randomly get assigned to projects and would have to go into the client's office for 3 or 4 days. I would be like, why does your client need you to come in and work for so long?
Yeah, why does your client need you to come?
That was a good one.
And he'd say that was just how these sorts of projects went. If he wasn't so hot and good in bed, I probably would have seen that this was a red flag, but I was completely digmatized. Finally, after I had been dating Andrew for about 4 months, I thought it was time he meet my family. I'm really close with them, and they had been dying to meet the guy I was always gushing about. Andrew and I met my parents and my brother and his wife at a restaurant. Things started off totally normal, but then the conversation turned to Andrew's work. My parents were happily asking him questions about how he got into graphic design, but then my brother started getting really nosy about it, asking really specific questions about his clients and what kind of money that brings in and what was the last project he had was. Andrew told him he couldn't disclose that information due to NDAs, which made my brother laugh and say something like, sure. Andrew seemed extremely uncomfortable, and I was pissed that my brother was being such a dick. It was not like him to be mean to the guys I dated, and he usually got along with them.
This is because the brother, he recognizes the guy, right? Like, he's like, I've watched some porn with women, and he's been in there. He's been in there before. I know that dick.
After dinner, I texted my brother and was like, what the was that about? Why were you being like that? I really like him. He texted back, Gabby, he's not a graphic designer. Trust me. This pissed me off even more, so I called him. He still sounded like he thought the whole thing was really funny. What do you mean he's not a graphic designer? Yes, he is. He was like, okay, I'm really sorry that I'm going to be the one to tell you this, but your boyfriend works in adult entertainment.
Wow. Didn't even say porn. Just said adult entertainment. Like
Yeah.
the more professional, you know?
He's trying to be nice to his
Yeah.
sister. Adult
You can find him
entertainment.
on the hub.
He said, I'm gonna hold your hand when I tell you this.
What the hell are you talking about? I asked. He does porn, he replied. How do you know that? I demanded. How do you think I know?
See?
He started laughing even harder. I wasn't ready to accept the truth, but also trust my brother, so the internal struggle was real. Just because he's hot doesn't mean he does porn. He probably just looks like someone in porn. I thought that at first too, but then I went to the bathroom and looked him up. It's definitely him, he just uses a different name. I can send you a video if you want. I was like, ew, no, I don't want my brother to send me porn. Just tell me the name.
Okay, fair.
Fair enough.
Yeah, whatever. I'll send you the video straight. You know, actually, I'll just send you a playlist of videos I have.
Yeah. Just tell me the name and let's never talk about this again. My brother told me the name to look up, and I felt sick to my stomach as I went into incognito mode and searched. A bunch of porn sites and videos popped up. I clicked on one, and yep, there was no doubt at all that it was Andrew. I had no idea what to do. On one hand, I don't care if someone is a sex worker, and I really liked Andrew. On the other hand, he lied to me about his job, and even though I don't judge people for doing porn, I wasn't sure that I was comfortable dating someone who did.
Especially if you're having sex with him and you don't know, like, where else and, like, what
Yeah.
protections he's using,
Yeah.
like, that for me would be the biggest violation, that, like, this is something that I don't know, and if we're monogamous, you've been cheating on me this whole time without telling me.
Yeah, you weren't at a client for...
You
You
weren't
were
with
in
a
a client.
Yeah,
you were in one.
You weren't with a contractor. You were with a cocktractor.
I decided I had to confront Andrew about it and get his side of the story. I called him and said my brother had told me something weird after dinner. He was like, yeah, I was worried that might have happened. So I'm guessing what he told me was correct, I asked. That depends. What did he tell you? Andrew responded. I was like, God damn it, is this guy really going to make me spell it out for him? I just wanted him to tell me the truth without having to ask. He says you do porn, I said. Long pause, and then Andrew goes, I was going to tell you, I just didn't know how.
I can obviously understand as someone if you're like in the industry and you're trying to look for a relationship and you're like, this isn't something that an average person will probably understand.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I don't even know how you broach the subject to be like, by the way, I have sex on the regular.
Yeah.
With people professionally, I get tested or whatever it might be. Even then, it could be a lot. I would imagine it's a lot for someone to take in.
Then I started crying. I didn't want to, but I was so upset that he had lied to me. He then goes, don't worry, we have to be clean to film. You don't have anything to worry about. I was like, that doesn't change that you lied to me. He told me he didn't tell me because he was worried I wouldn't want to date him if I knew the truth. And then started crying himself and saying how hard it was to date when you do that kind of work. I felt bad, but I was also pissed that he was now flipping the whole story around and playing the victim when he was the one who had lied to me. Long story short, we got into a huge fight and ended up breaking up. I considered seeing him one more time for some breakup sex, but I also couldn't get the image of him being with a bunch of other women out of my mind, so I didn't. That was 12 years ago, and I have no idea where he is today. I've looked him up a few times, and he seems to have quit the adult entertainment business. So maybe he became a graphic designer after all. Probably not.
No.
You know, maybe he
Probably
quit.
behind the camera
Yeah.
now.
He's like, I know exactly how to set this shot up.
Yeah.
Maybe he quit and was like, I'm going to give it up for her. And then just never.
Maybe he found his passion in directing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, you know, making shoes.
Big shoes.
I mean, look, you know, big shoes to fill, you know? So-
Yeah.
Massive, fat, massive monster
Massive
shoes.
shoes. That is it for Delve Deck Stories. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, you can like, subscribe, and check out some of our other videos. And if you have a story you would like to share with us, you can go to share.delvedeck.com and we might read it on an episode.